So for this first one, you have x squared to the third power. So you expanded the x squared out 3 times and then continued expanding that out. So how many total x's do you have in that one? Yep, 6. So it's going to be x to the 6th. Okay, this one has y to the 4th squared, so you have 2y to the 4th. And then if you expand that out even more, y times y times y times y, y times y times y times y. How many total y's do we have? 8. Yep. Okay, so let's think about what rule that would be. I know you guys did on that investigation thing, but what's the shortcut with the exponents on that rule? Multiply them, yep. Yep, so if you have the two, like an exponent being raised to another exponent, just multiply them. Okay? And then product to a power. So product, remember, is multiplication. So you have things being multiplied inside, and that's all to an exponent. So on this one, they expanded it out 4 times. You have a total of 4 2's and 4 x's. And then all you have to do to finish that is figure out what 2 to the 4th power is. So what's 2 to the 4th? 16. Yep, so 16x to the 4th. Okay, and then the bottom one, you have 4y being raised to the 3rd power, so you have 3 4y's. Okay, so how many total 4's do I have? And how many total y's? 3. And then what's 4 to the 3rd power? 64. Okay, this rule is a little bit trickier. So let me ask you this. On this problem, what exponent does that 4 have that's invisible? A 1. What about the y? 1. So what's basically happening here is that exponent on the outside is being distributed to the exponents on the inside. Okay? So this is like distribute exponent.
How did you get 4, 3, and y?
Just counting up how many of each there are. Okay, so your objective for this one is students will be able to raise a power to a power and raise a product to a power. Power is like exponent. You see your rules are kind of highlighted there again. So anytime that you have an exponent being raised to another exponent, you're going to multiply those exponents together. And this one is similar. This is just if you have more than one thing inside the parentheses being multiplied, then you distribute that exponent to everything. But if these already have exponents, it's still going to be this rule. You're still going to multiply the exponents together. Okay? So let's practice these ones first. On this one, it's really helpful to add in the ones because I'll explain when we get to one of them, like what I see on tests. So here, what exponent does that x have? What about the y? 1. Yep. So you're essentially going to distribute that 5th power to both the ones. Okay? So you'll end up with x to the 5th, y to the 5th. And then on B, you just have the single thing. It's not a product, so you'll multiply those together. So I'll get what? Y to the what? Yep. Okay, C is where I see a lot of mistakes happen. On tests, What I see a lot of is people either just ignoring the 3 altogether and just multiplying those together, or they'll do 3 times 5 to make 15, okay? So what exponent does this 3 have? A 1. So when you're sending that 5 in, it's being multiplied to the exponents. So that's going to be 3 to the 5th power, and then x to the what power? 10th. Yeah? So you do 5 times the 1 exponent and 5 times the 2 exponent. And then you just need to figure out what 3 to the 5th power is. 243, okay. 243 x to the 10th. Okay, and then this negative is easy to miss, but that is a negative 1. That's a number in front, just like that 3 being a number in front. Now, it's very important that if you have a negative number in these parentheses, when you go through and you distribute the exponent, you have to keep that number in parentheses, okay? So this is negative 1 to the 1st power and then x to the 4th power. So whenever you do this, the negative 1, keep it in parentheses because it was in parentheses over here, is going to be to the what power? 2nd, yep, and then x is going to be to the what power? 8th, yep. So 2 times the 1 exponent for that, and then 2 times the 4 exponent for that. Now, what is negative 1 squared if you put the negative 1 in parentheses? What is it? So like think that's a negative times negative. 1, yep. So that's going to be just positive 1 x to the 8th, or you can just do x to the 8th. If you don't put that in parentheses, you're going to get negative 1 if you type that into a calculator. And then your answer's going to be wrong, so just be careful, okay? Okay, you guys try the next set. Okay, so for A, you're going to distribute that exponent of 2 and keep the negative 3 in parentheses. So negative 3 is now going to have what exponent? 2, and then n to the what? 8th. And then what's negative 3 squared if it's in parentheses? 9, yep.
Do you want to keep it in parentheses if it's like a negative?
Yeah. You can if it's a positive still, but it won't get affected by anything. It's just because of like the even versus odd exponent for negatives that it matters, yeah. All right, and then B, just multiply those so you get B to the what? 10, yeah. Okay, and then on C, that 2 has a 1 exponent, so you're not doing 2 times 4. So So you should have 2 to the 4th power, x to the 8th power, y to the 12th power, right? And again, this one, technically the 2 should be kept in parentheses, but since it's a positive number, it won't make a difference. So you don't have to do it. It's only negatives, okay? And then what's 2 to the 4th? So 16, x to the 8th, y to the 12th. All right, and then on D, the 2 has a 1 exponent. So you'll get 2 to the 3rd, x to the 12th, and then what's 2 to the 3rd? 8, yeah. So 8, x to the 12th. Okay, good? Cool. Okay, so now we're going to bump it up a little bit. The following ones have this rule, or these 2 rules that we learned, and it also has like the previous rules that we've learned that you have to do also, okay? So on A, let's distribute that 2, so I'll get x to the what? Yep, -4, y to the what? 6, yep. So now what do I see that I can still simplify? The x, yep. So that's going to have to move down. So you get y to the 6th over x to the 4th. Okay, on B, what can I just get rid of right off the bat?
0.
Yep, so I'm going to get rid of the y to the 0 power. So essentially, you just have 2 to the 4th, which is what? 16, yep. Okay. On C, I'm going to show you guys a little like trick to use. I'll do it both ways so you guys can see like what happens. So if I distribute that -3, then I'm going to have 4 to the what power? -3, and then a to the what? -6, and I would honestly just get rid of the b to the 0. Get rid of it. Okay, now both of those have a negative exponent, so what do? Yep, put them both down. So what's going to end up on top? Yep, so 1 over 4 to the +3, a to the +6, and what's 4 to the 3rd? 64. So that's one way of doing it. There is a trick way. So if you have a set of parentheses and the outside exponent is negative, what you're allowed to do is you're allowed to just do the reciprocal of the entire thing to turn that positive. So look like this. So you basically have 1 over that same exact problem. I'm still going to get rid of the b though. So 4a squared, let's get rid of that. And that -3 is now going to become a +3 on the bottom. I will warn you, if you have any other negative exponents, you cannot change those to positives. This is like a one-time use only. So if you do the reciprocal, all that's allowed to change is that outside one. Okay, nothing else. And then now you can distribute. So you'd have 1 over 4 to the 3rd, a to the 6th, same thing. So kind of know when to use that, just because a lot of times with a million like negative exponents, things can get lost and it gets confusing. So a lot of times it is easier just to flip it and take care of the negative all at once. However, let's say you have a situation where you have a negative exponent on the outside like we do, but let's say all of the exponents that you had on the inside were also negative. In that case, you'd be better off distributing the exponent because all those are then going to turn to positive and you don't have to worry about it, okay? But if you flip it, then you're still stuck with all those negatives and it gets confusing. So just kind of look and see what's going to make the most sense, right? And then this one, whole thing's to the 0 power. So what do I get? 1. Yep. Good? Okay, you guys try the next ones. Okay, we good to go over it? Yeah, okay. For A, I'm going to get rid of the x to the 0 power. And remember, that's what number? Yeah, a -1. So, to the first power. So when I distribute that squared, I'm going to have -1 to what power? Remember, the -1 is completely independent of everything else. Has its own exponent. 1. So then when I multiply the 2 in, what would it be? 2, yep. And then for the y's, y to the what? To the 4th, because you multiply those together. And then what's -1 squared with parentheses?
Oh, 1.
Yep, just 1. So that's going to be like 1 y to the 4th or just y to the 4th. All right, B, the whole thing's to the 0 power, so what's my answer? Yeah. For C, I'm going to add in the 1 exponent here. So you're going to have 4 to the 4th, x to the 16th, y to the -12. All right, what is 4 to the 4th? 256, x to the 16th, y to the -12. Anything else we see? Yep, gotta move the y down. 256, x to the 16th over y to the 12th. And then on D, all of those negatives are, I don't know. I don't like doing the numbers to negatives, so I'm going to flip the whole thing. So I'm going to do 1 over -3x -3 y squared. And now that's going to be to the positive 4th power on the outside. And then let's distribute that. So you have 1 over, in parentheses, -3 to the 4th. And then x is going to be to the what? Yep, negative 12. And then y to the 8th. Good so far? Okay, so there's a couple things we can do. What's one of them? Put the x, yep. So we're going to take this x and move it up. What else can I do? Yep, simplify that. So what's negative 3 to the 4th? Yes, 81. So the x to the 12th is going to go up top. But on the bottom, you're going to have 81, y to the 8th. Any questions where any of this is coming from? Okay. Go ahead and go to the next page. All right, so now we're gonna keep adding in more rules. So on these ones, we have some stuff being multiplied on the inside of the parentheses, so the exponent on the outside. Again, a couple different paths you can take. If you want to distribute that exponent of 3 to all that and then try to simplify it, you can. I like to try to simplify it as much as I can first, so it's not so much multiplying. So here, we have two things with the same base, both x's, right? So when we multiply, what do we do with exponents? We add them. So what's that going to make? X to the what? Yeah, x to the negative 2, and then y to the 3rd. Combining the 2 with the negative 4. And then what exponent does this y have right now? 1, yeah? So when I distribute that exponent, I will get x to the negative 6, y to the 3rd, and then what has to move? X, yeah? So y to the 3rd over x to the 6th. Again, if you wanted to distribute that 3 right off the bat to every single thing and then worry about combining it, that'll be the same thing, okay? All right, this one, let's get rid of this y to the 0. All right, I'm going to do the inside and just see what happens. So 2 times 1 for the inside is just going to be 2. For the x's, we have a 3 and a negative 3. What's that make? 0. Yep. And then for the y's, I just have to the 4th power left. Yep. So I would just get rid of this. And then I would probably just flip the whole thing. So do 1 over 2y to the 4th, and now that's going to be to the positive 2 power. Okay, so that's going to be 1 over 2 squared y to the 8th. So 1 over 4y to the 8th. Okay, these next ones are similar, but instead of the two pieces being all together in like a big set of parentheses, they have their own set. So you're going to have to take care of like the distributing separately first, okay? So on A, I would not encourage you to try to flip this to get that positive, because since you have this also being multiplied, it gets too complicated with the fraction. So just distribute it like normal. So you'll get a to the what power? Yep, negative 4, b to the what power? Negative 2 times 2 to the what power? 3, a to the 3, b to the negative 15. Yep. That's just distributing the exponent all in, okay, for both. All right, here, what is 2 to the third power? Eight. And then for the a's, we have negative 4 and 3. What's that going to make? Yep, negative 1. And then b's, we have negative 2 and negative 15 to make what? Yep, negative 17. Negative 4 and 3. Okay, and then what's going to have to move? A and B, and the 8 will stay up top. So we'll get 8 over A, B to the 17. Okay, what do we see on B? The 0 power. So that's just a giant times 1. We don't need that. So all you really need to worry about is this. What can I do to simplify that? Yep, so what's going to go to the bottom? Yep, x. So your answer is just going to be y over x.
What the 1 on the other side?
It's just times 1, and like multiplying something by 1 won't change anything. So the only time you really need to be aware of the 1 is if like you don't have anything else in your problem. Like if your whole entire problem was something to the 0 power and you crossed out, you're like, okay, what do I put? Then it's gonna be 1. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, try the those ones.
What do you do with
Say that one more time.
What do you do with negative y16?
So that's totally separate pieces. So the y to the 4th is its own piece, and that's a negative 1 in front. That'll go with the 2. Yeah.
So it's negative 1 to the 4th power.
Negative 1 y to the 4th power, yeah. So like negative 1 to the 1st power, y to the 4th power. Okay, let's go with this. So on A, so that's negative 1 y to the 4th. So you're going to multiply the negative. Well, it depends if you want to put these together first or if you want to distribute first. I'm going to put them together first. So what's negative 1 times 2? Yep, negative 2. And then you'll have x to the 4th, y to the 4 plus 1. I'm sure I found this way. To make what? For the y's. Anybody? So ignore this. So we're only working on the inside right now. So we have y to the 4th, yep, but then y to the 1st, so y to the 5th. And then we still have that 4 exponent on the outside. So that's just like cleaning up and combining stuff inside the parentheses first. Okay? And then we'll distribute that 4th power. So parentheses, negative 2 will be to the 4th power. And then x is going to be to the what power? Yep, 16. And then y to the what power? 20. Okay, and then what's negative 2 to the 4th? Anyone? Negative 2 to the 4th? 16, yeah. 16, x to the 16th, y to the 20th. Now, could I have distributed that 4 to all of the stuff inside first? Yes, but it kind of would have been a pain in the butt with like just the negative and the, yeah. Okay. Here. So remember that's a negative 1. So we cannot do this one the same as this one because on this one, everything was in the parentheses together and could be simplified. Here, this set of parentheses has its own stuff going on, so it can't really combine with anything there yet. Okay, so let's get rid of that that exponent. I'm gonna do the flippy thingy. So we have negative x to the 4th y times 1 over, and that's all gonna become to the positive exponent. Okay, and then I went through and distributed that power now. So 1 over 2 squared x to the 4th y to the 6th. Actually, we're not going to do it like this because you guys haven't learned that rule yet that you would need to do it this way. So we're going to do it a little bit of a different way. Once you guys learn the rule on Monday, then you'll be able to do it like this. But for right now, let's not flip this. And let's just distribute that negative. So we'll do 2 to the negative 2, x to the negative 4, y to the negative 6. Okay. So for right now, let's focus on just putting the same variables together, and then we'll focus on like the number parts. So here for x, we have 4 and negative 4 to make what? 0. And then for y, we have 1 and negative 6 to make what? Negative 5, yep. And then we saw that negative 1. And then we might as well just take this 2 to the negative 2 to have somewhere to put it and just put it on the bottom. I'm not going to be able to do anything with that until it's on the bottom anyway. So we'll make that 2 to the positive 2 down there. Okay, now let's finish this off. What do we see? There's lots of stuff going on here.
You gotta move the y down.
Yep, so I'm going to have to move the y down. What else? Yep, so we'll make that just a negative 1. So it's going to be a negative 1 on top. On the bottom, what's 2 squared? 4. And then the y to the 5th moves down. And that's it. Yeah. So that one's for sure challenging. Okay. I think, let me see how this looks like. I'll write down the problems in case you want them with the answers, in case you want like extra practice ones that you have the answer key for. But you guys don't need to do these right now.